I am live. Let's see if I can see your comments. I think that's the one thing. Let's see. I don't see comments. I know you guys are probably commenting. Is this working or not? But I can't see your comments. Let me see if I open up. I'm going to open YouTube up in another window and see if this is working. It's a new software I'm using, and I want to make sure I can see when you guys are commenting, which at this point I can't, just so you know. Just bear with me for a second. Let's see here. Bear with me, guys. We're going to be just fine in one sec. I'm seeing the comments now. Okay. Okay, like I said, I'm using a new software here, so I want to make sure that you guys are, okay, your comments are working. Your comments coming in from YouTube. So for example, here, I can see that comment from Donald. Good to see you, Donald, as always. I know there's probably going to be some people who are going to comment from Facebook. So I want to see if I can see that. Okay, I can see Facebook comments. So there we go. Israel saying from Facebook. So, okay, it's working. Took me a little bit to figure it out, but all is well. This is the first time I'm using this new program called Restream. So what's happening is actually you can see this on Facebook as well as on YouTube, which is pretty darn amazing. Never done this before. I was always going to YouTube alone. I want to try to say hi to my friends in Facebook land, and I wish I could do it on Instagram too, but I certainly can't. But I'm glad this is working. It took me a minute because, like I said, usually right when I pop in, there's just hundreds and hundreds of comments down here. Today, there's only a few, but the better, it's always quality. We're always looking at quality over quantity. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. First of all, I always try to make sure that we cover as many topics as you guys have questions for. That's really important to me. I also always want to make sure that you guys get your questions answered. I really want to focus today for some of the people here, in the States that we're focusing on the trauma around the 4th of July, right? 4th of July are always big issues for dogs, fireworks, the stressors of it. I got a friend of mine who called me and asked about, his mom's or mom and dad's dog is always freaking out around the 4th of July. And I just want to address that before I get into questions and answers. What I want to do is spend a minute and focus on what our dogs go through when there's a stress. Shooting, if you live in an area, some bad area where there's a lot of shootings. If you live in an area there's a lot of thunderstorms. If you live in an area where there's fireworks. And sometimes you have all three. So here in the United States, those of us who are in the States, I know there's a lot of people here from other countries. I just saw Kevin, Dog Training Academy from India. You don't have the 4th of July. So maybe you have other holidays that are celebrated that a lot of fireworks are involved in. But the bottom line you have to look at is Maya, no whining. She starts to whine a little bit, and then there's like a whistling in the background. People think I'm making tea. You'll have certain dogs that are just genetically predisposed to softer nerves or sharper nerves, we should call it. And those dogs are going to be more likely to be stressed out by things like fireworks, the sounds and the sight of it, mainly the sound, because the sound can be heard from miles away, and those dogs get really stressed out. Recently, I've been playing around with giving some CBD oil to Maya. Seems to be working a little bit. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm not a big fan of doping dogs, although I will confess that our dog, Bosman, was on trazodone because he was very stressed out in his later years. He got like a little bit of dementia and stuff like that, and trazodone just saved his life. So if you have, all these things, you should always run by your vet first. I'm not a veterinarian. I don't claim to be. I don't even play one on TV. I want you guys to know that I'm giving you advice on things that have worked for me, things that I've heard have worked for other people, my expert advice on training and behavior. But when it comes to medical things, please don't post a comment and ask me, hey, my dog is vomiting up blood. What do I do? The first thing you should do if there's any medical question about your dog is go see a veterinarian. Go to a 24-hour emergency veterinarian. Do whatever you can do because dogs can be really, really, really delicate. Now, I want to talk about the 4th of July. If you have a dog that has an issue with sounds, such as fireworks, you're not going to solve it tomorrow. You're not going to solve it on the day of the problem. It's a long conditioning process. You can do things like play sounds at low decibels, play YouTube videos of fireworks, play TV, movies of fireworks. Get the dog overly used to it. Anything that's a stressor on the dog, if it's introduced over and over and over again in a diminished way, this is the important part. If you introduce the sound at a very intense volume and intense frequency, immediately it's called flooding the dog. That is very dangerous to the dog because usually it doesn't get the dog over their problems. It makes the problems worse. What you want to do is to introduce them at a diminished level. The exact same way that I say if a dog has dog aggression issues, to bring the dog in the vicinity of another dog at a distance great enough to withhold the immediate stress. So in other words, if the dog is stressed by other dogs 10, 15, 20 feet in front of it, then I say start at 30 feet. Work with obedience, work with behaviors, and then start to bring the behaviors and the distance closer together, and it'll work. Same thing with sounds like fireworks. Now, in the meantime, for those of you who have dogs who are going to be stressed out by this, and I'll go into a million other topics with a Q&A, I always like to start our little conversations out with a little message. And that is, keep your dog inside. If your dog is stressed out, don't take him out to see fireworks. In fact, I never advocate taking any dog out to see fireworks, even if you keep him in a crate. It's just a recipe for disaster. Because if a dog spooks, a dog's going to try to run and hide. And if there's no place to hide, they're going to keep running until they find a place to hide. They're trying to get away from the sound. And the problem with sounds like fireworks, they're up in the air, so they're dispersed over wide areas. The dog really can't tell where they're coming from because they're coming from the sky. Dogs are very, very in tune to sound. So if it's coming from a particular area, they'll move away from it. If it's coming from the sky, it's coming straight down, they can't get away from it. That's a lot more complex than you're going to want to deal with. So keep your dogs inside, keep your dogs safe, keep your dogs at a distance. Put some music on. If you have a nice deep bass subwoofer with some music or something you can put that on because it'll drown out the intense frequencies. And it's the lows and the highs that are really going to get them. The screeching, whistling sounds that are above the frequency, sometimes we can hear. Remember, dogs can hear above and below our frequency range. Those are all the sounds that are really going to freak the dog out. So if you have a good stereo, don't blast it where if it's going to screw your neighbors up, that's fine. Who cares? But put it to a level where it's just enough to comfort the dog. Turn the air conditioner on so it's not hot. It's not hot in your house. Run a fan, do anything like that. And if you want to light some aromatherapy, that's great too, and that might work. So that's my advice to you for the 4th of July. I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July, a great weekend. It's a very, very awesome holiday. I'm very patriotic. I love this country. And I certainly hope all of you who live in other countries love your country as well. I will ask you a quick favor before I get started here. And the first favor is, if you are not subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell so that you'll be notified of these lives in the future. If you are subscribed to this channel, I want to thank you very, very much. Also, now that's YouTube. Now, if you're on Facebook, I ask you to follow my page because for some reason, and I don't know why this is happening, it's a mystery that Janet, Alan, and I are trying to work on. We are, Christopher, thank you for the super chat. We are trying to figure out why my Facebook page has been stuck at 137,000 followers for a year. I see 100 new followers, 50 new followers, 1,000 new followers. It never moves above 137,000. I think Facebook and Instagram have a little mafia going on because my Instagram has not moved above 86 to 87,000 subscribers, followers either. So if you're out there, please go to Robert Cabral, Facebook and Instagram. Follow that. Let's see if there's a trick. Let's see if we can put an extra 10, 20, 50,000 followers and subscribers on there. YouTube is growing awesomely. Just released a new video today, how to teach your Malinois puppy down with little Ziggy, who Janet is absolutely in love with. Janet, I think Janet might steal Ziggy at some point. I think he might end up in our home. And that's that. So the Facebook page is Robert Cabral. Basically, if you go to robertcabral.com, you can get to all my social media from there. Anywhere you search, if you go to Facebook, search Robert Cabral, I'll be there. YouTube, same thing. Instagram, I'm verified. I'm there. But for some reason, I'm not seeing an increase in the followers, and I can't figure that out. Maybe I'm being shadow banned. So let's take some questions. I'm going to go through here. Remember, I will only take questions from people who start the question out. Okay, like for example, you did not do this here, Brandy, but I'm going to answer your question because it's the first one I grabbed. Please, if you're putting a question, put a question mark or 2 or 3 in the beginning, please. Okay, so this question goes out to Brandy, who asks, what are your thoughts on public dog parks? Brandy, obviously you're a very new follower, a new viewer, because I hate dog parks. For so many reasons I can't even tell you. Please keep your dog away from dog parks. Take your dog somewhere to socialize them among other friends, with other dogs, and you'll have a much better life. Dog parks are a disaster. Okay, next question. Angeline Croman. I wonder if it's Angeline, and it's maybe spell misspelled. Well, that's not worry about it. Okay, question is, I'm having trouble training out dog reactivity with my 8-month-old German Shepherd. We always had her around dogs and truly believe it's frustration because she wants to play. What can I do? So here's a great example. What happens when people overly get their dogs very doggy, which means they take them to the dog park and their friends dog can play with them. And every dog on the street they can meet and they can play with. The dog becomes very doggy, and the dog wants to always play with other dogs and be around other dogs and greet other dogs. And that behavior can become kind of obsessive. When that happens, eventually you'll end up where you don't want the dog to meet other dogs, and then we get a frustration. That frustration turns into aggression, real commonly. So my answer to you there, Angeline, is to take your dog and teach your dog obedience. A good sit, a good down, a good stay, a good leave it. 4 simple little things to teach your dog. Once your dog knows those things, and when another dog is in the dog's presence, first of all, don't take him to a dog park or where there's any off-leash dogs if you can avoid it, and get your dog in the presence of the other dogs without meeting the other dogs. The dog has to look to you, have some treats with you, some cookies or something, or a toy, and the dog must defer back to you. Once the dog gets that, then the dog will become more neutral. Remember, it's not good to have a dog-friendly dog. You want a dog-neutral dog. Neutrality is your friend. Friendliness is not your friend. Let's see. I'm looking for question marks. I'm not seeing any. Janet's actually here, so she can kind of help me out. Here's one from Denis Chmel. Okay, hang on. Janet always comes first, so if Janet has one, I'm gonna do this one first. Janet hands me her phone. It's her red phone, which I bought her. Christopher, have you flown any dogs domestic or internationally during COVID? I need to move my 110-pound boy from the U.S. to Germany once I start school. First of all, it's not an issue, right? I believe Lufthansa had a really great program. People fly dogs internationally all the time. Now, you're asking if I've flown domestic or internationally. I've flown tons of dogs domestically. When I was rescuing dogs, flew tons of them. Dwayne came here, but Dwayne I think was in the airplane, right? Yeah, it was an airplane. So he was a younger dog. With a 110-pound dog, call the airlines. The dog will go cargo, but the dog's not going to go, in with the luggage where there's no air or anything like that. Call the airlines. If you're coming from Germany, there are dogs every single day, countless dogs every single day flying from Europe, especially countries like Germany, Netherlands, Denmark, Holland, Sweden, to the United States. Not an issue at all. Don't even think twice about it. Denis Chmel says, my 5-month-old Labradoodle puppy, got at 4 months old, has an odd habit of pooping on the sidewalk and wanting to go on the road rather than on grass. How could I change this? Well, it's probably the way the dog was hardwired, maybe where the dog was raised, or maybe the dog, was kept on concrete early on, maybe to avoid things like, parvo and distemper. A lot of times people will avoid grass for that reason. Just when you see your dog about to poop, just quickly go, hey, come over here, and just move them onto there. And when the dog does their business there, throw a party, give them a treat, make it a really happy thing, and it'll be much better. Oh, that's awesome, honey. Thank you. Janet is now circling the questions, which make it even easier for me. This one goes out to the Santiago one or the, no, which one? There's 2. So she circled 2. So we have 2. Stay tuned here. Steve Dominguez says, will my mini golden doodle stop being reactive on walks to other dogs, squirrels, etc., as he gets older? He's 8 months old. Well, I don't know that question, but what I would certainly do is start teaching him some obedience things and socializing the dog, and when I say socializing, this is an important piece. Socializing doesn't mean playing with other dogs. Socializing means getting the dog around other dogs, right? And paying attention to you so the dog can see other dogs in their presence without having to go play with them. Having to go play with them is not the benefit to a dog. That's not going to help the dog at all. What's going to help the dog is to be around other dogs and be connected to you during that time. So you need to do that exposure. I would say yes. I mean, a golden doodle is not a very dominant dog, obviously. But again, a lot of this will have to do with genetics, early socialization. I don't know what happened. And I'm saying early socialization. I'm saying into 4 to 8 week window, not necessarily that 8 to 16-week window where you had the dog. The other question goes out to Santiago, who says 4-month-old Malinois, who is starting to get in the habit of barking whenever the dog next door goes out for walks, loud noises. Should I distract her or correct with forthcoming her so young? What would you do? Well, first of all, don't try to change anything about the 4th of July or any stressors that are imposed on the dog. That's always going to be a problem. What you want to do is start training your dog in a type of environment where the dog can learn things, right? When the stressors are removed, then we start training the dog. Then we introduce the stressors at a lower frequency and a lower duration. That usually helps the dog. Let's see here. Got to hear a lot of ticks coming through. Everyone, those ticks you hear. What kind of shampoo do you use on Maya? I was using the Paul Mitchell stuff for a long time. I thought it was really, really good. There was a Dr. Flea shampoo I used. That was a natural. I try to go with a natural as possible shampoo. I mean, I'm not crazy about it, but usually just a good natural shampoo. Paul Mitchell, I think, did really good stuff. I liked it a lot. I think, is this you, Nick Vidmar? How can I get control of my dog when he's playing with my parents' dog? When I try to get him, he runs away from me like it's a game, and he goes after my parents' dog and plays rough with her. Well, so he's getting frustrated, right? He's frustrated. The elevation is becoming higher. You need to get better control of your dog in the presence of the other dog. Maybe put a long line on, train, obedience, reward, and then get the dog to play for a minute and then call him out. And if he doesn't, you need to maybe use a long line. You need to use something to gain control of the dog, because the fact that the dog is getting frustrated and then going after your parent's dog is not good. And you see, I forgot to turn my phones off before this, and I'm getting calls. So I'm going to turn the phone off now. I apologize for that. So that's really the key. I'm going to turn the volume off here so we don't keep hearing this tick, tick, ticking. It's kind of annoying to me. Jamie, how do I keep my 4-month-old puppy from eating fireworks during walks? He is still not perfect on leaving. Well, you have to block him from that, because, if a dog is not perfect and is eating things, picking up things on a walk, and you're not able to control that, then you need to get ahead of your dog. You need to have the dog on a shorter leash, and you need to watch your dog, because the dog eventually will eat something that will be very, very dangerous to him or her. So please, people always say, how do I do this? But you just do it. It's not like I tell you, how do I make a car disappear, right? It's not like you're asking me to do something that's not physically or conceptually possible. It's very simple. You keep an eye on your dog, you watch when he's going near something, and then you correct him on it. And he's a 4-month-old dog. So this is the point where you really want to be teaching these things. It's really critical. John, Benadryl, good, Goodrow use. I think you mean good to use on the 5th, and I think you mean the 4th. I think we're had a couple of words issues there. John, I'll tell you why I wouldn't. Some people use Benadryl. And Benadryl is an antihistamine, which is also a medicine that can be used to kind of make a dog more drowsy. The flip side of it is it can also cause a dog to become more excited. So just like with us, if we take a certain amount, it has one effect, which is a relaxing effect. You take a little bit too much or a little too little, depending on a person or dog, it sends them in the other direction. So my suggestion to you is do not use a sedative on your dog when they're in a stressed environment. See your doctor, right? See a veterinarian and see if they want to put them on something like a trazodone, but it's something that needs to be built up in the dog. It's not just something, like taking a Quaalude or something like that. I guess I'm dating myself by saying Quaalude, but where you just simply get the dog on it for one day. Don't do that. It's not, you don't want to play doctor with your dog. Put your dog in a cool room, chill him out, turn the radio on, everything I said in the beginning of this podcast. Ray, do you recommend giving dogs something to sleep before the fireworks start? No, I don't. You just don't want the risk of a dog who's stressed getting a sedative that's not prescribed by a doctor is that dog might have an adverse reaction to it. And then you can't get them out of it. I think Jimmy wants to go outside, honey. He's kind of sniffing around the door. and I put a little light blocker in front of the door because my light was all screwed up. So it's more work for poor Janet. She has to, you're going to see a little boast of light coming out of my face here for a second. Cretu. My Malinois is very reactive and I've trained him heel and he does it very well. When I go out on walks, he doesn't listen to me, whatever I will do. Should I use a prong collar to give him a tap? Absolutely. Right? You want to give the dog, you want to train the dog to do the behavior without distractions. You want to introduce the distractions at a low level. Then you may need to put corrections on the dog after that. That's it. Right? Some people can do it without a prong collar. Some people can't. Some people can do it with no e-collar. Some people can do it with a cookie and a clicker. Some people can't. That's why I'm really in favor of keeping tools available. So when you do need it, you can use it. What does this say here? Priyanshu, is there any working line Malinois or are all Malinois the same? I don't know if you're kidding about that question, but I'm going to assume you're not. I'm going to assume you don't know. So yes, Malinois are generally a working type of dog. They're not working line. They're considered herding line dogs. That's important. The way the AKC classifies dogs is in different groups. Now, Malinois are not in a working line group. For example, a St. Bernard is a working line dog. A Labrador, although it is a working dog, is not a working line dog. It's a sporting line dog. A Malinois falls into the herding lines, like German Shepherds. Those are important components, but most Malinois are going to be working line Malinois that you're going to see. There are show line Malinois. Goofy is kind of part both. That's kind of a better pet. Ziggy, who you see on the videos on robertcabral.com, my membership section, and also here, the video I just put up on YouTube, is Ziggy. And Ziggy is a show line Malinois. So you can see the difference in a dog like that who's very compliant, very sweet, very, a lot more sensitive, probably would never be able to do competitive working, like protection dog stuff. But yes, there's a big, big, big difference. Okay, and anybody who asks any more questions about Benadryl, no, don't use Benadryl. Donald, I have Janet here moderating, so I don't need any help, but thank you so much for asking. It's very, very kind of you. I will probably take you up on that in the future, for sure. Okay, here's another question. Now, this one is from a YouTube viewer. So see, if you see the red thing, it's a YouTube viewer, and if it's a blue, it's a Facebook. So I want to make sure I get you guys fair share for everybody, and to make sure that I'd like to see the Facebook grow. We got 204 people in the room now. I don't know how many thumbs up we've had. Janet's going to keep track of that. Dennis, also about 5-month-old Labradoodle puppy. He is anxious, fearful outside. At start of walk, he always stops and wants to go back home. This is very strong at night as well. What do I do? What you do is you keep walking him, right? You have the dog, just like you would do with a child. You have the dog work through their fears without crushing their spirit. Take some treats with you. Take a toy with you. Say, come on, let's go. And get the dog excited. Do something positive. Make sure the dog works through their fears and then take him out. Take him back home. Don't let a dog or a child, I worked through this with kids when I was teaching karate. Don't let people succumb to their fears. You're going to create a monster of a dog that's going to be fearful of its own shadow. Sometimes it's not pretty, but we got to work through our fears. As a society, as a species, and as a breed, you need to get dogs through that. Janet's bringing a new one up, which will be the one I take next. Let's see what she says here. Which one? Hoku? Hoku says, how can you train bullying behavior, fixating on fast-moving dogs that leads to chasing them, nipping legs and tails out of a 2-year-old high prey drive dog? So this isn't bullying behavior. This is prey drive, right? Prey drive is very, very different than bullying behavior because prey drive is a dog's desire to chase, bite, kill, and eat. You know, they might not be killing and eating the other dog, but it's still a component of that drive. So what you want to do is you want to get the dog under control of those things at a distance. Again, it all focuses back on obedience. Obedience, obedience, obedience. The dog must have a relationship with you. This is usually harnessed in dogs when people let them as young puppies just get away with murder, run away, play, run, jump, bite, nip, do all these things. But you must put the component of structure onto the dog. Hey, now, okay, here's some good news. Janet's going to love this. Look at this. Avi is in the house. My man, Avi. Good to see you, Avi. And Shabbat Shalom. Let's go back up here to George. It says, how about Dog Beach? I live near Huntington Beach, and they have a great spot for dogs. I have a 4-month-old lab, and I keep him leashed. Okay, so here's the thing, George. In theory, I'm stuttering here. I'm stammering my own words. In theory, the idea of dogs playing with other dogs is a very natural, healthy behavior. The problem with it is when it's not. When you get a dog there that's going to bully somebody, you get a dog there that's out of control, when you get a dog there that's sick or limping or something, and dogs start turning on it. Because most people who take their dogs to dog parks and dog beaches are not physically as connected with their dogs as people who don't do that, right? Or I should say, as people like me, right? I'm very physically connected with my dog. I can grab my dog, I can control my dog, I can hold my dog, wrestle my dog. My dog will listen to my words, will take heed to my pressure. People who take dogs to a beach are taking it so because they can get their yayas out, right? Oh, let's let them get tired. Well, that's great, but there might be a high prey drive dog there and another dog that starts running and the high prey drive dog goes after him, and you're triggering drives in dogs that people aren't familiar with. I mean, it's a really nice idea. If it was just like, for example, I would take my dogs, all of our dogs, I should say, Janet and my dogs, to a park and let them run and play because I know them, right? That's natural. For strangers to come in is not as natural for the dog. That's a big piece. Now, let's turn this off. Janet brought a question to me. It says, is it the David one or the Jenny one? Both. Okay. Janet's doing 2 for 1, which is really nice. It makes her have to walk less. So David says, you answered my question about the use of prong collar. Thanks. I forgot to say that my dog is 13 weeks old. Any red flags? I probably wouldn't use it on a 13-week-old dog. I think it's too young. I think you need to let the dog have a little bit of spirit, right? You don't want to crush the spirit in a dog, and a prong collar can do that, right? I'm not saying it will do that, but it can do that. So when you have a young puppy, let them be a puppy and start to teach structure in as easy a way as possible. There's no need to be putting too much pressure on a puppy. At about 6 months is when you want to start kind of tapering that down. It's like a baby crying. You don't want to smack them in the face and tell them to stop crying. And you never want to smack anybody in the face and make them stop crying. But, I would not at that. I had a funny joke in it, but I'm not going to say it because it wouldn't be politically correct. Johnny, you're obviously from Sweden or something, and I've got a surprise for you Swedes coming up too soon. Any tips introducing an e-collar for my 6-month-old German Shepherd, not intending to use it for corrections, but for a better handle when off leash? Well, that is a correction. Just don't sugarcoat it, right? There's no reason to say, oh, I'm not going to stim my dog. Well, of course you're going to. If you put a prong collar on, you're going to give the dog a correction. That's why it's there. Let's not shy away from that in the scope of trying to be too politically correct, because then we get into the realm of, oh, that's terrible. We're not going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But watch my videos on introducing the e-collar properly. That's what I would do. Okay, let's see. Kim, my dog is leash reactive to it training 2 years ago. Learned watch command, has not progressed. Any pointers? Took it to training 2 years ago. Well, you didn't take it to good training. I'm sorry. If your dog is leash reactive, and the dog you're teaching it a watch command, which is a look command, the dog should look at you instead of that. The dog hasn't been taught redirection. The dog hasn't been taught focus, and probably you need to start again. Watch my videos on YouTube. Join my member section. I've got tons of videos on leash reactivity. It's a super common thing. It's a super, super, super common thing. Marcy, my dog was 3 when I got him. He's a little and pees on me when I go to pick him up, to the point I get a towel. So the dog is piddling because the dog is nervous, right? So nervousness, especially with young dogs, if they have weak bladders or weak nerves, they pee themselves. It's just what they do. It's never made better unless you get the dog to understand structure, to understand that, we're not going to pick you up when you're excited. We're going to wait till you're calm. And that's it. I mean, it's all you can do. Watch. I've got a lot of Q&As on the topic. You need to maybe watch some of those. By the way, Avi, Pierre and I have connected, and we're going to be doing. We did the podcast. I had an audio hiccup because I reset my my soundboard, and I had a horrible echo for the whole hour that I couldn't hear, but came in later on the board, off the board. So we've been talking, and actually he's a little sick. Because anyway, long story. Okay, Michelle says, I have a 9-month-old rescue terrier, makes 30 pounds. He barks at everyone and backs away from people as he barks. How do I get him to be quiet when told so? He has been like this since we got him at 8 weeks. Well, you haven't done the work to socialize the dog properly, to bring him into that environment. And the way you can do that in a home is to put him in a crate, have him have something he absolutely loves in that crate. Like I would put a Kong with some of his favorite food and their treats, and then have people come over and let him just get used to that. Introduce him to people at a great distance, 10, 15 feet. Let him, you sit there, you talk to people, walk closer, walk away. You need to get the environment and the stressors as neutral to the dog as possible. The only way to do that is to introduce those stressors at a distance and safely. That's it. No veterinary behaviorist who went through 4, 8, 10, 20, 40 years of school is going to tell you anything differently. There's no science about this. This is the thing that angers me about science-based dog training. There is no science. As we see, science is always changing. Science is shifting and melding and adjusting as new theories become available. Here's the theory. You're afraid of people. You want to live in a world with people. You got to get over the fear. And that's it. That's it. You know, if you're overweight, you want to be healthy, you want to lose weight, you got to exercise and stop eating, right? If you're skinny and you want to be strong, you got to eat more and exercise. There's simple rules, and you can make it as scientific and complicated as you want, or you can solve the problem. Okay. Wie kann ich einen Hund aus Deutschland bringen? How do I find a good breeder over there? I live in the USA. Okay, so you're asking me half in German, half in English. So I don't know which way I should answer to you, but you're going to get a dog from Germany to here is not complicated. You know, you just book a ticket for him. Right? It's the same way you get yourself to Germany or back. A good breeder to find over there, watch the podcast that Avi and I did, and that'll help you. Easiest and hardest dog breeds to train. There is no easy dog to train, and there is no hard dog to train. Janice's Labrador. That's Janet. And, you know, guys, Janet really should be on the podcast. I'm telling you, I've asked her no less than 100 times. I only had to ask her 3 times to marry me over 30 years, but she did. She's making a face at me over there. Anyway. All right. Let's see here. Ryan, can you talk about your collar conditioning program? I'll explain it to you in a nutshell. E-collar conditioning program. I take e-collars. I have the dog wear the e-collar. I have him wear it. And when I say 24/7, I mean that I have it on the dog most of the day. I don't have him sleep with it on or anything like that. I put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, leave it on for a long time, take it off, put it on. It becomes transparent that it's on the dog. That's step 1. Step 2 is I find the dog's levels. I use very low levels of stim. I always start at a 1. Doesn't matter if the collar goes from 1 to 100 or 127, or if it goes from 1 to 10. Doesn't matter. I always start at a 1, and I start to look for the reaction. Now, before I ever turn it on the dog, I put the collar on my neck or my arm, and I turn it from 1 all the way to as high as I can possibly handle it. It never stops my heart or anything like that, but it's very uncomfortable at certain levels. And I want to know where that level is on me, because I don't want to approach it on the dog unless I have to do something like a rattlesnake avoidance. That's basically it, but watch my videos. It'll really, really, really give you a good insight. Which one? Which one? You're pointing, but you got to say it because it's going to roll away. Tomas? Tomas says, any tips to correct the way my dog sits and downs? She sits in an unsymmetrical way, scoots onto one leg, and when I brought her to my local IGP club, the trainer told me to correct it 6 months. Well, you want to correct it because it's what's called a sloppy down, or what we call a flop down. A flop down, the dog just kind of flops down. The way I condition is watch my perfect sit video. It's a really great video, if I may say so myself. I always teach dogs to sit on a table or a platform or anything like that, a board, because what it does, it makes the dog really pull everything together. So it's like sometimes I slouch when I'm talking to you guys and I should sit tall. My mom told me that for years. So that's going to be the best thing. Watch my perfect sit video and consider joining. By the way, for those of you guys who have not joined my site, robertcabral.com is the site that you want to join. Now, I'm going to tell you one other thing too, and this is something I meant to do. Hang on, I got to go into my email here for a second, because I have something that I want to share with you guys. Hang on, let's see here where we are. Is it this one? Nope, it's not that one. I have an email here. Okay, here it is. Okay, so what I would like you to do, if you'd like to get one of my T-shirts, the T-shirts are on Teespring. Go to my website right now because I've Teespring on for international orders. We have three questions coming from Janet here. The Teespring. Go to my site. Go to shop, and look for the T-shirts. Now, during the shows here, unless I'm running a special, they're shipping through Teespring, which is a company that can ship internationally. Jimmy can't do it, so I'm using Jimmy for special orders on all cool stuff like our hats. The hats are not on this special. But the code is HEATWAVE, HEATWAVE, HEATWAVE. Put the code in, you're going to save 10%. So buy a T-shirt today, save 10%. That's it. I'm going to only say it one time, HEATWAVE. 3 questions Janet just brought to me. The first one goes to Alfred, who says, hello, Sir Robert. Can you please give me some motivation to get through my puppy's first year? I'm a first-time working line owner, and I get exhausted. Well, there is no great motivation, but I'm going to tell you this much. Here's your motivation. Your dog is going to be an amazing dog. If you spend the first year working that dog and working it hard and training it, you're going to have 12 to 15 years of a great dog. If you let it go by the wayside, now here comes the fear part, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate the dog because it's not going to be trained and you're going to be putting out fires for 13 years. So that's that. Kathy Schroyer, my 1-year-old pup wants to jump on people when they come to the door. He also jumps and bites at their hands. The 1-year-old needs to be put on a place command. You need to teach the dog a place command. You need to keep the dog on a line and correct the dog when they get off the place. On the other side, you can put the dog in a crate. I like teaching a solid place command, and when the dog gets up, hey, get over here. Put the dog back in their place. You must infuse corrections to get solid behaviors. David Cretu, or Cretu David, says, I have another question. My Malinois puppy jumps and kind of kiss bites my 13-year-old lab who won't be able to defend himself. How can I stop this? When I try to stop them, how do I do it? Well, this goes back into that question, how do you do something? You just do it, right? You just do it. That's as simple as that. How do you stop a 13-week-old lab puppy, a Malinois puppy? You grab him and you say, knock it off. That's it. How would his mother stop him? So remember, there's no magic formula. I used to say this when I did the Bound Angels University program. Is there a way that I can sprinkle pixie dust? I'd say, Lewis and I, my friend who sadly passed away, God rest his soul, I would say, hey, Lewis and I were up all night last night making pixie dust, and we just sprinkle it on the dogs, and it just works. But the truth of the matter is, it's just your attitude, your presence, your sheer energy will take a dog from being a jerk to being a good dog. As simple as that. Okay, I'm skipping around a bit. Janet's helping me a lot, but I mean, there's a lot of, okay. Who's this? Leland. The best locations for one to run their dogs is in remote locations where there are no other dogs or a need for leashes. In public dog parks, leashes are a must. And I couldn't agree with you more on that, Leland, but I might just interject one thing that you didn't think about. If you have a dog that has a high degree of prey drive and you take him out to a remote location and he spots a deer or a squirrel or a bison, anything like that, and he starts chasing it, you will not get that dog back. You just won't. So yes, it's a good idea because it's safer about other dogs, but there's always going to be something that's going to trigger that dog's drive that's going to be a problem. By the way, with this, we have 196 people. We had 220, so for some reason it went down. Again, if you are on Facebook, please follow and like this page, please, because you're gonna be notified of things. I'm always posting videos. You'll have constant updates on great dog training stuff. And if you are on YouTube, please subscribe to this channel. We're at over 200,000 subscribers. I'd like to get it to 250,000 before the end of this year. Really be my goal. 250,000 at the end of the year, and I'd like to get to 1 million at some point very soon. Gary Cole says, as a trainer in the UK, wondered how you give clients a reality check when their expectations don't mirror what's realistic. It appears it's always the trainer's fault when they don't get what they want. Well, see, I mean, you might be really friendly and really nice and really proper as a Brit, but I'm going to tell you something. I don't pull punches on stuff, right? First of all, I got a saying, and that is, you got the dog you got. Now, not every dog is cut out to be an IGP world champion. Not every dog is cut out to be an agility world champion. Not every dog is cut out to be an obedience champion. But every dog every dog is cut out to be a nice companion. And you gotta love the dog for what he is. If not, then you're gonna get a dog and you say, this is not the dog I want, and you're gonna give him back or give him to a friend and get another dog. And that's kind of like the same people, what they do in relationships. They're always looking for the perfect relationship, so they're constantly, and this is relationship advice. This is Robert Cabral's relationship advice. You have, whoever your partner is, whether it's your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your significant other, whatever you want to call it, or your dog, you have to accept that creature, that being for what they are. Every animal is doing the very, very best they can do. So when somebody really annoys you because they don't agree with you politically or spiritually or socially or whatever, they're doing the best they can do. They might be utter morons, but they're functioning at the highest of their capacity. They're doing the very best they can. And you got to love them for that, right? I mean, I love my dogs more than anything except for Janet. She's sitting right there. She's going to look up in a second, but it's true. And I know that some are smarter, some are stronger, some are just, I'm not going to say who's who, but I love each of them individually. I love them to the best of my ability, and they love me to the best of their ability. And that's what you got to do. You got to tell them that, hey, this dog might not make it, but you should love him. And if you don't, you're really a jerk. That's the bottom line is. Donald, thank you for greeting everybody. That's very nice of you. Let's see. Okay, here. Ethan from YouTube, $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Not necessary to do super chats. Just so you know, I don't do super chats on this channel. I mean, it's very nice of you, but I appreciate it. But remember, you can support me by purchasing off of my store. You can purchase a membership to my website, robertcabral.com, where really we have all the best online dog training available. By the way, I'm going to be on here another 15 minutes. Then I will be in a members chat. So if you're a member, you can head right on over to the membership section and get another hour of me. Get 2 hours of me. I think Janet wonders why people care so much, why they want to spend so much time with me. She's stuck with me 24 hours a day. Okay, my dog do not clean her butt after she poops. She get poop dingleberries. How do I get her to clean herself, Robert? It's a good question. So you can't maybe get her to clean herself, but I'm going to give you a novel piece of advice. It's not going to be pretty. But there's these things called preparation H wipes. And sometimes dogs get like a little mess on their hind ends. They're very, very good for doing it. So you might have to help her, show her, clean her a few times, and I think then she'll start to pick up on it. But it's a good question, I guess. Tiffany Rosas. My 6-month-old German Shepherd is suddenly fearful of strangers on her walks. How can I make her feel more comfortable on leash? You need to get her back out. You just need to get her among people. And I would tell people in the beginning not to greet her, because sometimes it's that stress of greeting her that people get really needy with the dog. You get, oh, hi. They put all that pressure on the dog, and that can freak the dog out sometimes. So don't let people meet her. Just let people ignore her, and the more transparent that experience becomes, the easier it'll be for the dog. Okay? Janet's got another one. Which one? Okay, that one. Robert. Whoops, that's got it. Let's see here. Robert. What are my thoughts on melatonin? I don't know. I mean, I take it sometimes. Melatonin is the thing that makes us sleepy. It's natural in the body, but it's something we can add in. I would ask a veterinarian about that. I don't know how it is on dogs. I really, really, really don't. Let's see here. Okay, Jan, is it Janie? Here's the problem. I'm not wearing my glasses, so all this stuff is really small to me. What are things we can work on to help control impulse reactions? Impulse reactions are generally in dogs with weaker nerves. Like they just react, right? I always say there's a response and there's a reaction. And a reaction is just suddenly. It's not based on logic. Response is something we think about and then we respond. We think about the words or whatever. Dogs that have really sharp reactions are generally dogs that have more sharper nerves. And it's something that's oftentimes genetic. And that's it. And it's just, getting confidence up in the dog. I guess that's what can you work on? confidence in the dog. Confidence is built through a dog that has obedience, that knows certain life skills. A dog that knows he can please you, that knows I say sit and you sit and I say, yes, good boy. We have this connection. They can look back to you. A dog needs someone to look up to. No matter what, a dog needs someone to look up to. A dog cannot function in the world. And when I say this, it's important to understand a dog is functioning in a human world, right? Humans have dominated this world. If, let's say, hypothetically, lions had dominated this world, then humans would be living in a lion world, and we would have to function in a lion world, or an elephant world, or a gorilla world, or a dog world, right? But since we dominated the world, dogs have to function in our world. Now, to be very fair, we will teach dogs how to function. That's through listening to us and through exposure to us. So once they get that, they will get it. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Savannah Mendoza. Any tips on how to keep a hyper dog calm during recovery after being neutered? I would crate the dog, right? I mean, neutering, if you, I'm not sure if you're saying neutering or spade. Spade is there's several different ways of spaying dogs. Some are very, very invasive, and the dog needs to be very relaxed for up to 10 days because they can tear the internal stitches, which can be really, really dangerous. Neutering a dog, simple, a castration of a dog is not a very complicated surgery to recover from. It's quite simple, actually, and the very, very little suture. So depending on what it is, if it's a very serious one, it's one thing. If it's not, it's another thing. Sane. Just want to say thank you. I love your lives, videos, and homepage. I use it all to train my now 6-month-old Rottweiler, the basics. We train IGP. Love from Denmark. Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. And I always love when you guys are training a sport and using my channel, because people always think, oh, I'm just going to do, this. I don't need a trainer. A lot of you, and I mean a lot of you who are members of my membership section, do other things with your dog, and you rely on me as a backup, right? Because you don't have access to your training club or your trainer all the time. You have access to hundreds of videos on my channel that help you with that. So thank you for that. It's, I think, a really, really, really important. Hey, look who's in the house. Anthony from New York. Ethan says, how can I get my Doberman to be aggressive at brother-in-law? I don't want him in the house anymore. Well, Ethan, I don't blame you for that, right? My brother-in-law is actually really nice. We get along really well. I would suggest changing the lock on your door. That's what I would do. You don't want to get your dog aggressive to somebody else, because you know what's going to happen? He might bite him. And if he does, you're going to have animal control come, and then they're going to take your dog. And you know what you're going to be stuck with? Your brother-in-law. That's it. If you don't like your brother-in-law, just keep the brother-in-law out of the house. Make your dog friendly, because I'm telling you something. If he bites him, your brother-in-law is probably a jerk, because you're not a jerk, because you're on my channel. That's impossible. But if he does something to your brother-in-law would be a bigger jerk, and you're going to lose your dog, and you don't want to do that. Don't have your dog be aggressive to you. And then we've got Dr. Glow. Is that somebody you know, Dr. Glow? But Janet always glows. I would think her doctor would be Dr. Glow. I've hand-fed my 8-month-old field lab since I got her, trained obedience impeccably, then hired a trainer at 6 months for e-collar, but I feel our bond should be stronger. What would you do? Well, I mean, that bond is going to grow immensely through training. Immensely. So just train. And that will get that bond stronger. You only will get a bond stronger through training. Don't forget, guys, we are going into the live in the member section. Now, there's a lot of you here, 213 of you, and I thank you. By the way, you know what I haven't done? And I'm sorry, I apologize. 48 minutes into this, I have not given thanks. That was very selfish. I'm very sorry about that. Thank you guys so much for following my YouTube channel, for following my Facebook page, for following me on Instagram, and that's really it, because I don't do any of the other stuff. I don't do Twitter. I wish I did. I don't understand it. But thank you guys so much for being here. You guys make, this was a dream I had. The dream has come true. It's very successful. I'm very, very happy. We're helping more and more people. Which one? The yellow one? Morgan. Okay. Let me do Morgan here. Then I got one on the page. Morgan. What do you think of trainers saying that comforting a scared dog is rewarding their fear? I agree with them. I do. You don't want to, because your comfort is usually a reinforcer of the fear, because it's done improperly. Like Maya, when she's anxious about fireworks, I don't say it's okay. She gets on the bed and she lays on my leg or on my arm, and that's fine. That's it. But telling her it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, oftentimes we'll do that. So that trainer is actually correct. Okay, Priyanshu Banerjee. I wonder if I say these names right, because you know what? You guys have some awesome, cool names. Like my name is Robert Cabral. It's not that cool. But Priyanshu Banerjee is cool. That's a really bitchin' name, and I hope I'm saying it right. How to train my dogs to be calm outside of home. An example, in a crowd of people, my dog gets very much excited to see other people. He is in puppy stage right now. So one, you want to get the dog around people, but not within the people. Like if you can kind of be outside of the crowd, maybe on the side of the street when the crowds are moving by, and get the dog to engage to you, maybe hand feeding, and then do things like maybe have a tug toy. A tug toy is a good way where the dog has to connect to you and gets into a little bit of a fight drive that they will direct towards you and keep towards you. And then the dog will start to get more confidence because they know that you got their back, you've got the toy, you've got their ability to turn on and off that drive. Okay, another one here from Janet. Sabine Bushinger. Any advice on stopping a 9-month-old border collie chasing wildlife? I keep her on a long line to practice Rico, but when she sees wildlife, she does not respond at all and chases full speed. Well, if you have her on a long line, she can't chase that far, can she? You need to, at that point, stop her, right? Because chasing wildlife is one of those things that's deadly, deadly, deadly to dogs. Either they're going to get hurt by wildlife, they're going to get into somebody's farm stuff, they're going to get shot, they're going to chase something, it's something bad is going to happen. There's never a good outcome to dogs chasing wildlife, never. So if you're on a long line, correct her before she gets to that line, go, hey, and when she gets to that line, pop her, hey, and then pull her back in, right? You might use a prong on it, you might use an e-collar, you might use other stimulation, but the hunt drive, that's one of the few examples where positive training will not work you through that. It's impossible to work through it with positive only training because it's such an inane, hard drive in the dog. That's it. That's all I can tell you. Okay, Priyanshu, I got you. Savannah. I'm going to just scroll real fast because we're coming near the end. Oh, Johnny, you're from Finland. Well, that's actually up where I thought. I thought it was Denmark, but I was a little bit off. But thank you so much for that. Thank you, Danya. If you guys could all give thumbs up to this videos on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. And if you're on Facebook, and again, we've got people from Facebook and YouTube, which makes me really, really happy. Hit the like on this and share it with your friends so we get more and more people. I'm trying to build the Facebook channel. I'm trying to continue to build the YouTube channel as well. Okay, here's a long one. Jennifer, my God, that's a long one. I don't even know if I can read this whole thing in the time we got left. I have 2 female coonhounds who are litter mates. They're 16 months old. I've had one since 8 weeks and the other about 6 months ago. She was being rehomed from a bad situation. She was living with 2 of her brothers where they were all ignored and had 0 training. I need one-on-one training with them, training them both at the same time. Okay, this is a long question. I work with them on being separated. It's been suggested I use crates, but crate training is something I've struggled with. What's the last thing? Without being able to separate. Well, you're going to have to separate them. That's it. See, it's a lot of times it gets into this question. I'm going to have to close this because, you know, you're actually blocking my chin here. Sorry, not to be vain, but you're actually blocking half my screen. You know, you have to do what you got to do, right? If you love your dog, you will give them that structure. That's it. You will give them the structure. You will block them from doing the wrong things. And blocking by hook or crook, right? It doesn't matter. You must protect your dogs. Please, if you get nothing else out of this chat today, if you get nothing else out of it, you will get out of it that you are responsible for your dogs. If your dog is doing something wrong or potentially dangerous, you must block them. All right, I'm going to take 1 or 2 more questions, and I'm going to go into the members live. Now, if you have questions, instead of doing a super chat, for $14.95, you can go log over to robertcabral.com, sign up, and you'll be in the member section. You get another hour of me. Imagine that. Just for $14.95, you don't only get another hour of me, but you get access to 100 plus, 130 plus videos over 40 hours of instruction. Let's do this. Salma. My dog, very jumpy and sensitive, hates people, generally very insecure and reactive. I take her out on face halter now. How can I get her to trust people and me more? Halter seems very oppressive. Well, the halter is horrible, right? So every time she's okay, so she hates people, right? Think about this for a second. Your dog hates people. Now you're going to tie a rope around her nose, and every time she sees people, you're going to snap her neck to one side or the other. Now she's really going to hate people, right? Why not get her, let's say, on a nice little martingale collar, right? Take her at a distance from people where she doesn't quite hate them yet. She kind of has this feeling I have, which is she doesn't really like them a lot. I'm kidding. But she doesn't really love them. But she sees them, but she doesn't love them. And at that point, you can go to her, hey, and when she looks back, you can give her some treats. Then you can have her look at them, and she looks at them, and you go, hey, and when she looks at you, give her some treats. What that will teach her is that when she sees them and looks back to you, good things happen, so they can't be all that bad. But yanking her around by the front of her face, I think it's a crime. I don't know why these animal rights people don't fight to ban that tool. If you want to fight to ban anything, fight to ban that one. E-collars or prong collars are not that oppressive. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Okay, guys, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to take this time to say thank you very much for being here. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for supporting my Facebook page. We'll see if it grows a little bit now. Maybe we'll bump over there and see that it's up to 140,000 subscribers, likes, followers. Well, what do you call them? My number one focus has always been the YouTube channel, because YouTube seems to be a platform where it's not as personally and not as yappy and attacking kind of stuff. And it's about education. That's what my thing is about. Like, I don't really care about anything else. Care about political things, personal things. It's all garbage. If you're trying to be a good person, be the best person you can be. Give your dog a good life. Train your dog. That's why I don't do political things on my channel. Not that I don't have a political opinion. I do. It's very strong. But when I go to a page about cameras, I want to see what this guy's got to say about cameras. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, Christian, Jew, Muslim. I don't care. I love everybody and dislike everybody equally. But that's why this channel is kept to dog stuff. Now, I'll get political on dog stuff. You want to take away somebody's rights to train their dog or to use tools, I will get into that. But you're all welcome here. I love you guys equally. You love your dogs, no matter what you are. There's no race, no religion, no political things here, nothing at all. You're all loved here, and you're appreciated here very much so. So I thank you guys for being here. I'm going to hop off. I'm going to get a drink of water, and then go to robertcabral.com. Join there. Don't forget, hit the thumbs up button on this, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, follow the page, and go to robertcabral.com and sign up there, and I'll see you on the inside. Take care.